We're all living in a world gone geek. It's time to geek hard or go home. The podcast is real. Here's your host, Grounded Geek.
All right, everybody, welcome to the show. It is Sunday night. That means it's time for World Gone Geeks. The podcast is real. Live. We're really live here on YouTube, Twitch, and Facebook, wherever you prefer. We are glad that you could join us. Welcome. We have a great show tonight. We're very excited about it. Along with me, as usual, is my esteemed cohort in geekiness, Utah. Welcome.
Hey,
I don't know.
programs.
How are you, my friend?
Doing good. Hey, you know what? World Gone Geek is going live right now.
It sure is. Did you get the
on my
alert
phone
on your phone? And that's what happens when you subscribe. All you have to do is subscribe or follow us on Facebook. But yeah, we're on Facebook, YouTube,
and Twitch
simultaneously.
Holy crap!
I don't know why, because it just divides the audience all over the place. But I don't care where you're watching, as long as you're part of the group. We appreciate it. Thank you.
Absolutely.
You may notice that it's a little bit a little bit older in the show tonight because we're missing our youngest member. Aaliyah could not make it tonight. She is traveling and finding a place to live. She's going to be moving away from our geographic location, but she'll still be on the show. But she's out doing that kind of stuff, so we miss her tonight. And you didn't bring cardboard, Aaliyah, with you tonight, or you did? Did you bring? There she is.
No, she's here.
But yeah, so she's not here tonight, but we miss Aaliyah. But that's why we decided to do Star Wars tonight, because as most of our audience knows, if you've been watching us for a while, Aaliyah has not seen all of the Star Wars movies. So she has only seen A New Hope. And we're working on that. Yes. And we actually found a way where we can watch it together, even from our separate places. We're going to do that very soon. We're going to get her in Empire Strikes Back. We're going to record that when we finally do. Obviously, we can't live stream that. That would be, against all kinds of legal issues. But yeah, we're going to go ahead and record that. Hopefully, we'll get a cool reaction from her. I don't know if she already knows some of the things that happen, because it's kind of in pop culture now.
Right.
But having not seen the movie ever, who knows? Maybe she doesn't know some of the big things that happen in that second movie.
It's funny that hasn't ever come up, if she knows like that particular plot twist, right? It's like,
I don't want to bring it up, because what if she doesn't and we spoil it before we get in there?
Somehow now just knowing that there is one.
Right. So we're going to keep her as innocent about it as possible. And if we get a good reaction, we'll record it and we'll have it on a future episode. Yes. But yes, we are tonight. We're talking about Star Wars. We have a very special guest coming to join us in just a little bit. But before we do that, I do want to take a moment to call out our non-sponsor sponsor. What did we call it last time? I don't remember. They're not a sponsor, but they're a company that we really love and adore and want to draw attention to.
Yes.
And that is John's Crazy Socks. Let me bring it up here, because since we're talking about Star Wars, I'm just going to bring up the Star Wars socks.
He's got Star Wars socks.
Did I do it? Here it is. Yeah. So John's Crazy Socks, a little bit about them really quick. John is a young man with Down syndrome. He and his dad started this business together. John picks out all the socks. He loves, crazy socks. He wears them all the time, and they ended up turning it into a business. You can get all kinds of crazy socks. I got my Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy socks from them
for Towel,
which was very exciting. It said "Don't Panic" on the bottom, which is a lot of fun. And there's a lot of cool pop culture socks, crazy socks that do all kinds of different designs and patterns and support different causes. But the cause that they support is Special Olympics. So a little bit of every purchase goes to Special Olympics, and you can get a lot of crazy socks there. The other really cool thing about John's Crazy Socks is if you go to, why can't I get to the top of this? Because there's this thing in the way. Yeah, if you go to John's Crazy Socks, they have a Sock of the Month Club, which I think is just really cool. And the Sock of the Month Club is basically you sign up, and it's like $12.99, includes the shipping. And John picks out a pair of socks every month for this club. Comes with every order comes with a personalized note from John, which is very sweet. I got candy. I got a little packet of Skittles in mine. It's just they put a lot of care and fun into it. And most of the employees there are all differently abled, And so they're very, very much supporting that community and the Special Olympics too, both in their employment practices and in their profits. They're sharing that with a good cause. So John's Crazy Socks. And if you go there and you tell them that World Gone Geek sent you, and the way you do that is by putting in the promo code WGG10, WGG10. And that's just good for the rest of the month of June.
Okay.
Where our last episode of this season is in a couple weeks. And then we're going to take a little hiatus over the summer, except for a San Diego Comic-Con episode. But so for the rest of June, that is valid. Now, we may work out something with them in the fall with another code, but that's only good for June. So make sure to go and get your Crazy Socks right now. And again,
June
we don't get any
30th.
promotional anything from them at all. We're not an affiliate. That's not what they do. So it's not a sponsor in the sense that they're paying to be mentioned on the show. I loved the socks. I love the energy of John and his dad. I love what they're doing, and we love their cause, right?
Yep.
Have you ordered socks yet, Utah? I know you were looking at some.
I was looking at some, not yet. That Star Wars 2-pack, though, is calling me.
Right? It's there's some really cool stuff. I mentioned last show, my one beef is in their Harry Potter collection, they don't have Hufflepuff.
See, I wasn't going to mention that. I was going to say
that was my beef, and I mentioned that on Twitter. I called him out for that. Like I was like, John, I love your socks, but where's my Hufflepuff? Not Twitter, TikTok.
TikTok.
You can follow us on TikTok now. We're doing little things there
and Twitter too. While you're at it, I mean,
Twitter, Facebook, we're everywhere. All right, but yeah, let's talk about Star Wars and let's bring in our special guest. We got a lot to talk about. This guy has a great business and a great thing that he's doing that we thought was just fascinating, and we wanted to talk to him about it. But we also know he's a huge Star Wars geek, and so we also want to talk about Star Wars stuff. So that's what it's all about tonight. If you're worried about Star Wars spoilers, Aaliyah, don't watch this episode. Who knows? It might happen.
I mean, come on. What's the statute of limitations?
Well, yeah. Well, no, I want 30, her to stay fresh.
40 years?
She's got to stay fresh until we talk to her.
Yes.
But no, there's so much happening in Star Wars right now. You've got the Bad Batch is going right now, which is kind of a post-Clone Wars deal. We've got more the Kenobi series is in production now. That's officially happening. We got an anime series coming to Disney Plus. We've got all these different things. What was it? Ballad of Boba Fett? What's it called? Is that what it's called? Or did I just make that up? It's something about Boba Fett.
Something Boba
Book
Fett.
of Boba Fett.
Book of Boba Fett.
I love the Ballad of Boba Fett, though. I think I would rather something.
Well, see, now
break out your uke and start writing that right now.
I was going to say, now I'm going to have to pull out my Johnny Cash on uke and see if I can come up with the Ballad of Boba Fett.
I forget. It's the Book of Boba Fett. That's what it was.
The book.
The end. Yeah. I don't know. I still think I'm going to call. You know what? We called Falcon and Winter Soldier the Sam and Bucky Power Hour.
Darn tootin' we did.
Book of Boba Fett is now officially the Ballad of Boba Fett. That's what we're going to call it.
Excellent.
All right. So without further ado, let me bring on our special guest. He is a martial artist, but doesn't just teach that martial arts in the traditional form. He also teaches martial arts with lightsabers, which is pretty amazing. Please welcome Master Alan White to the show from Level Up Lightsabers. Welcome to the show.
Welcome to the show.
Nice to see you guys. I'm glad I got to make this happen.
Oh, we are too. Thank you so much for agreeing to come on and talk to us tonight. Tell us a little bit about, let's start from the beginning. First, let's just start with Star Wars. Tell me, where did your passion for Star Wars begin? That's usually my first question for Star Wars fans. What's your first Star Wars memory?
So, I mean, I was under the age of 9 when, I was watching a bootleg Star Wars that had been recorded off of HBO or something. Right. And so there was, that was the beginning is, my dad or maybe my mom, one of the two, both, but they had recorded it so that it was a part of our library. And as a kid, seeing it in that context. And then, I don't think I saw Return of the Jedi in theaters. If I did, I was too young to have any recollection at all. 82 represent. But samurai with laser swords.
Yeah.
That's, and so it's very, very easy to then, as a kid, you see that, and there's all of these things about that story that are really, really easy to connect with or imagine yourself into, or, any of that kind of stuff, so that then it becomes a way to imagine and play and explore and interact with the world through that lens of what it had to say and what it had to teach and that kind of thing. So that's like, the answer to the question is, it started long enough ago. Like, I'm closing in on 40. It started long enough ago. I don't know. It's just, I have been with Star Wars so long that it's, I don't know where it started, but it's not going anywhere.
I hear you.
That's fair.
Well, I have a question. So were you already, how long have you been into martial arts? Were you doing that when you were young also? And did you see the connection right away?
Not right away. Those things sort of started separately. So, I started martial arts training in 93. And so we had moved from Massachusetts to Kentucky, where this is a really difficult area for allergies in general. And so outdoor activities and some indoor activities and other stuff, it was really hard for me to have physical activities and breathe. And if you can't do that second one, it's really hard to do the first one. And so,
sure.
That's why the aerobics instructors always remind you to breathe.
Yeah.
In Japanese martial arts, heian, which is sometimes Americanized into pinyin, literally means breathing practice. It's one of the ways that you read those symbols. But and I do a sort of a variant of Kempo karate. And so there's not necessarily a lot of overlap with what I started doing as a beginning martial artist and lightsaber fighting. It was something that the samurai sword and Philippine martial arts and some of the other things I've used to build my saber curriculum happened more when I was like, the roots of that are when I started college. So like the early 2000s. And so right away, there wasn't the connection. I have become a professional martial artist. That's kind of a misleading phrase, because like, if you're a martial arts instructor and you are being paid as a martial arts instructor and that's how you're feeding your kids and so forth, then you are a professional martial artist. But I'm not Jet Li. It's not. It's a different league.
Yep.
None of us are Jet Li.
That's so true. God, it's true. I would give my left arm to be that good.
Even now, even at his age now, none of us are Jet Li.
So freaking good. Donnie Yen, who all of us Star Wars fans appreciate.
Sure.
I'd give my left arm to be that good.
Yeah.
No doubt.
Amazing stuff.
But that was the beginning of my martial arts journey. The beginning of my Star Wars journey technically is the early 2000s. But I didn't start crafting the lightsaber curriculum as it is until 2015, 2016, somewhere in there.
Okay.
I found a company that made durable lightsabers. And I've told this story a handful of times now, but so I had a sword curriculum that I was teaching at the dojo, and we had a specific, but basically a special topics class for it. And so people would come in and they'd do it. And for the most part, people would do it for a little bit and then they'd just sort of peter out. Because if I handed somebody a wooden sword and say, pretend this is a samurai sword, pretend you're a samurai, people could get like 70, 80% of the way there. And then eventually sort of lose some of the enthusiasm. If I handed them an expensive flashlight and said, pretend this is a lightsaber, zero problems. Everybody is 100% in. Like, we got sound effects happening. Yeah. It's everybody's there. Everybody's on the same page. And that's part of filling out sabers for the class, to have an armory to be able to teach the class. Because if somebody's got to spend $100 just to do a class, that's a barrier to entry that a lot of people aren't going to just cross on a whim. And so I had to accumulate lightsabers to have them available for people to come in and do class. And then if they wanted to, eventually they'd get their own and bring it in and be like, this is my lightsaber. Ha Everybody would be like, oh, I want that lightsaber, you know. But with teenagers and I've got a lot of female students, a lot of the primary manufacturers that are out there, what's available is a really thick gauge. Like, if you remember those old mag lights when those first came out back when we were kids,
good.
Like, they're
inch and a half.
Yeah. And so for people in those demographics, it was really hard to use them. They weren't very comfortable.
Oh, right. Because I remember the good old classic lightsaber toys had to use D batteries, right?
Yeah.
So they had to be at least that
clunky as hell.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Clunky as heck.
Clunky.
No, that one passes. That gets through the filter.
HE double hockey sticks.
Gosh darn it. But so the manufacturer that I partnered with, part of the reason why I picked them, and believe me, I went through some manufacturers, their gauge is a lot more comfortable. So it's easier for people to use it. Like even my kids have, this is the handle on my site called the Bonus XP. And so my daughter and my nephew both have a lightsaber that's their lightsaber. And I just trim the blade down so that it's appropriate, but it's not too heavy or too big for them to use. Whereas even the ones that you get at the parks
those are incredibly,
they're really hard for kids to use because of the size and wanting to be able to include people in classes, wanting to be able to teach people, you got to give them something that something they can manipulate, they can maneuver. And so that's part of how I landed on the sabers that I offer. I keep looking over here instead of at the camera, and then I look at myself in the picture, and it's like, oh, camera, here we go.
So tell us how you got into the actual production of lightsabers, then, where and started it as a company.
So I don't personally manufacture. I work with a manufacturer, and I went through a lot of product samples. I went through a lot of different things to find something that was going to meet the features that were most important to me. What's most important to some people out there may not necessarily be what I found to be critical for my classes.
Sure.
And so everything that's on the site right now, because this is sort of phase one of the shop, is the stuff that checked the most important boxes to me. Because what I wanted a student to be able to do, whether they're coming into my classes physically or doing the training online, is buy one saber and be set. There are a lot of companies out there that are trying to be just sort of, business to consumer. We are going to come out with lots of complex, new, different stuff. We're going to roll it out really, really frequently. And we want you to treat them like Pokemon. We want you to catch them all. And I don't want to be lightsaber Jeff Bezos. That's a lot more like energy into that part of it than I want to do. I'm like, most people are only good at one thing, and I'm a pretty good teacher and good dad, working on making sure that I'm a good husband, working on making sure I'm a good dad, feel confident in saying I'm a good teacher. Most people only get the one thing. I don't want to have to add a fourth thing when I already feel like the three that I'm juggling is a lot sometimes.
Sure,
and so, a saber that was going to give people the ability to change the color so that they weren't locked in from purchase. A comfortable handle that didn't have a bunch of stuff on it that would rip up your hands. That is a lot harder to find than you realize until you kind of get into this. And one of the top three for me is the ability to mute. Because if you have a dozen people with sabers on in a room and they can't turn it off, you need a bullhorn.
It makes it tough to
teach. All right, do it again.
That's something that anybody else buying sabers would take for granted, but for your particular situation, that makes perfect sense.
And it was so that was a criteria that it was like, all right, if it can't do this, it's not on the list. Right. And then there were certain other things that were, I want it to do this, but I'm willing to sacrifice that as long as I get the other things. But in-hilt recharge.
Nice. You don't have to take anything apart. You just plug it in and wait. Nice.
Because it's
interesting.
It's really easy to just get a row of a broomstick rack is a really common thing for and so then you get a row of them. You buy a USB splitter and you can plug everything in all at one time. And then there's not a lot of assembling and disassembling and reassembling just to do class.
Right.
Because the class is the part that's important to me, not all the other bits and pieces and things like that. And so in-hill recharge was like, all right, win. I found one that I like that also does that. This is important. Durability, obviously. And so every company I worked with, I put their blades through all kinds of stuff
did you like torture test them?
You have to. Plus, it's fun.
I was going to say, like, that's one of the first videos. So when I first discovered you on TikTok, that's where I first like realized what you were doing out there. And basically, in the video, you were basically taking a lightsaber and you're just whacking it against a tree, like you were trying to John Bunyan, trying to cut it down with it. And I'm like, how is that thing not shattering to pieces? So obviously you figured it out. Like, what makes them so durable? What is the
secret sauce to this? Actually, isn't that secret, and it's also most of the companies that you purchase from, their blades are going to be able to do that. So I'm not going to pretend that I'm the only lightsaber company that can. Mm-hmm. So these blades are normally made out of a polycarbonate,
right?
Which is like
pretty strong.
I'm not going to say that it's bulletproof because it's not bulletproof, but you can put these through some stuff. Mm-hmm. It's an incredibly durable material. It's got a lot of really unique properties. The Nalgene bottles are made out of polycarbonate, and it's that plus being a cylinder shape, they are
strength. Yeah,
like just from a material standpoint and a geometry standpoint, you can break them, but it takes work. Mm-hmm. And now the blades that mine ship with, this is hard to see with the camera,
but they're hollow.
It's a 2 millimeter wall.
Okay.
I'm going to add a 3 millimeter wall to the site when we get to phase 2, which adds even more durability. So like people that do the competitive saber contests where you're basically, depending on your background, it's either HEMA or Kendo, except with lightsabers. And so you're just strapped in with Kendo and lacrosse armor.
And
then you two people just beat the crud out of each other.
It's actually pretty entertaining as a spectator.
It's the closest thing to MMA in the weapon fighting world, because you have people with lots of different weapon backgrounds.
Yeah, that's true. I never thought
and lots of different ways to be successful. So there's not, because of the nature of saber combat, it doesn't have the same kind of fight meta that other combat sports have.
Right.
And because you might have somebody with like a Kendo background and somebody with a HEMA background, and then this other person that has a really bonkers weapon style that really doesn't work outside the context of lightsaber. Like if they tried to do it in Kendo or in HEMA, it wouldn't work. It works in saber.
Yeah.
And so you get to see these sort of this amalgamation of these interesting things being thrown at each other, which is cool. But people that do that type of sport application, a 2 millimeter blade isn't as useful to them because it wears out faster. Mm-hmm. A 3 millimeter blade lasts a lot longer. What you don't want to have to do is go to an event and have to swap your blade every other fight. Or, it's like, that's just one extra thing you don't want to have to be thinking about while you're competing. And so those people tend to prefer an even heavier grade blade. And I want to be able to give people that, that opportunity.
Yeah. And so what are you teaching in your classes? What you're teaching in your classes, it's actual like combat, right? It's not just like, well, here's a good choreography in front of the camera and how to make it look pretty. And some of that might be involved, but
some of it's
actually,
but
you actually
got to get the basics first,
attacks and defense and how you would actually use a weapon like this, and hopefully not cut a limb off if it was real, right?
Well, and as
one of your own limbs. Of course,
training,
you're trying to cut off a limb of the other.
You want the other person to lose
Wars.
appendages. You want to have all yours.
Right. And now I'm thinking of Monty Python's Black Knight, but that's something else.
How about you?
No, in Star Wars, it's just the arms.
It's just a flesh wound.
And as soon as you begin saber training, doing any kind of emulating the stage choreography for the movies, you learn very quickly that the lightsaber would not function well as a weapon in the context that it's depicted, because you would harm yourself so often, so catastrophically, that it's one of those things that you see that and you realize
Yeah, no.
This is movies.
Yeah.
This is movies, and that's okay.
That was my main problem with Kylo Ren's saber when he had the hilt guards. I'm like, oh, come on.
The split actually bothers me less from a mechanical standpoint than the staff.
Oh yeah. That's
so
just...
it's a lever, and so the weapon is a lever. So if I send one side out, the other side comes in.
Yeah.
And so all you have to do is hit this part of the lever the right way. And that part of the lever is going to remove significant parts of my anatomy that I need.
Yeah.
But it'll be cauterized at least.
This is true. Like, the bleeding risk is minimal.
Right.
But if it gets all the way through, that doesn't help.
It doesn't matter. Yeah. Unless you're Darth Maul, in which case you're fine.
Then you get angry enough to get new legs.
Right.
The base curriculum, so what most people are going to start with, is based on samurai sword. So if you've done Aikido, has a portion of its curriculum is called the Aikiken, which is Aikido sword. And so it's going to be more similar to that type of sword training than a Kendo sword training. So the sword is a little bit more Kenjutsu, which is, if you're not a martial artist, Kendo is sort of, it's fencing, it's the sport fencing. And so it's, points and this sort of thing. So the nature of that system is a little bit different.
Right.
And then Kenjutsu is less of the point application, and it's a different kind of application of the toolbox. So they have a lot of overlap of the toolbox, but you train in it a different way. And so it'll be more like an Aikiken, it'll be more like a Kenjutsu is the base curriculum. As soon as you get outside of learning the triangles of, okay, I have a long weapon that I control with two hands. Once you get through that and you understand the triangles, you understand the movement. I wanted to start people here because it puts both hands on your weapon so that you learn how to point your center at people and how to move off lines of attack and things like that. After that, you can replicate all of those triangles one-handed. And then we start to work in some of like Philippine martial arts, which is like the eskrima sticks, Kali, Arnis, that sort of family of systems.
Oh, cool.
And some other weapon arts. There are a lot of cultures that developed a sword or something sword-ish, and they have a lot of overlap in the triangles that they teach. There's some differences, but ultimately it's all, you're either using a triangle to be a wedge to pierce the other person's defense to get to them, or you're using a triangle defensively to cause their attack to go by you. If you imagine like the way a canoe goes through water, the water is going around it. And so I could use a wedge above me like a roof. I could use a wedge in front of me like a canoe. So there's all weapon systems more or less come down to triangles and spirals. And most of the time spirals are just, it's still a wedge. You're just moving it while it's being a wedge. I realized I talked about a lot of stuff, so I don't know if that exactly answered your question. But.
No, it's good. It's great. So my point was, this is like real, this is real fighting, not just, how can we, it sounds like what you're describing, correct me if I'm wrong, but if you look at the original lightsaber battle and the very first A New Hope, it sounds a little more akin to Darth Maul spinning around and doing backflips with his swords and the stuff we got in the prequels. Now, don't get me wrong. That's awesome to watch in a movie. It's a lot more fun to watch than what we saw in the first one. I'm not arguing that isn't more entertaining.
But not practical.
It'll be more similar to it'll be more similar to the style of choreography from the original trilogy. Mm-hmm. There's some interesting stories about that choreography. I don't know how familiar you guys are. So next time you watch Empire Strikes Back, so this is for everybody. Okay.
I'm watching it right now.
Don't watch Luke. I understand. It's everybody in that movie is better looking than me. Good call. Don't watch Luke, watch Vader. So the next time you watch Empire Strikes Back, ignore Luke. Just watch Vader. So one of the problems they had with the Vader costume is he could not have his hands above his face in front of his body because of the cowl.
Yeah.
And so Vader's choreography is more or less four corners.
Huh.
And he's either doing it with one hand or with both hands.
Right.
But he's got four corners he can go to. And so all the attacks are going to one of those four spots. And one of the things that was brilliantly done with how they choreographed it is they realized after the fact, oh, crud, we have this problem. They were like, okay, so what do we do? And so they're able to disguise it with forced perspective, and they make Luke's choreography really visually interesting. So your eyes get pulled away from what Vader's doing and you're seeing what Luke's doing. Plus, we're rooting for Luke because he's the hero.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And so there's all of these sort of dynamics at play in making it work. And so then until you're like either looking at the fight choreography from an analytics standpoint, or you hear somebody tell the story or whatever, you never look at Vader's choreography and go, oh yeah, he's just, that's all he's doing.
He's just going this
1, 3, 4, 2, 1, 4, 2, 3. Like, and that's there's so many problems that they encountered in filming that they had to find really creative solutions to, that some people have heard me tell that story and think that I was dumping on the original trilogy, but it was a brilliant, like, solution to a problem that could have scuttled the movie if they hadn't landed it, and they totally stuck the landing.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a very cool insight.
I still stand firmly on that is the best Star Wars movie of all time. Empire Strikes Back. Yeah. That's my
favorite.
mine. Yeah, it's yours too, Utah. I don't know. Yep. What about you, Al? Do you?
I waffle with my list, and I realize some people are not going to find this very popular. The Last Jedi is my favorite movie.
Oh, that's
my favorite Star Wars movie.
You're not going to find any enemies here.
Find any problems here.
We are definitely now. I don't think it's my favorite, but it's my favorite of the new trilogy, and that makes so many people so angry. Easily. In fact, we probably have just lost listeners and fans.
Now our one viewer is gone.
No, but let's be honest. Like, come on. We need to be able to, that's the whole point of World Gone Geek, is that we're all geeks here. We all have different opinions.
Yes.
We, Star Wars, Star Trek, there's just, who cares, right? We love what we love, and that's fine.
And
so
we're
if you
all
didn't love it, that's great.
We're all allowed to have our own perspective on which ones are like,
absolutely.
But so Empire for me is either 2 or 3. I sort of waffle between Empire and A New Hope.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Like those are sort of 2A, 2B.
Yep.
Because and one of the other things, there was a TikTok thing that was going viral for a while that was, for a lot of creators, was a really good way when viewership was sort of down. There were a lot of Star Wars creators that did this because it created a ton of engagement. But they do their list of Star Wars rankings. And I had the hardest time trying to figure out how to do that, because all of the movies I really love for different reasons, and because they're individual to that movie, it's really hard to then separate them. Mm-hmm. But like, look, The Last Jedi, for me, the 2 reasons I love it more than anything is, coming out of Force Awakens, I didn't really love Kylo as a villain. I didn't understand where Kylo was coming from as a villain. The Last Jedi was where I got it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, they did a very good job of showing that
where
story.
It was like, but also understanding not just why he would betray Luke, but also understanding how he became this new-ish Vader, but rather than being like the monster in a slasher movie, which is sort of what Vader was like. Right. Instead, he is this fallen chosen one, but that's also got like this petulance and some other things. So it was like, from Force Awakens, it was just like, I don't empathize with this villain. I don't feel threatened by him. There's all this stuff going on. Then we get to The Last Jedi, and it was like, now I get it. There's a whole bunch of pieces that have fallen into place. Now I understand he's about to come into his power and be the big bad in the next movie, and he's going to be scary. And then I'm not going to dunk on The Rise of Skywalker.
Again,
I was just about to say, and then that didn't happen. So
no, I'm not a big fan of this. But yeah, again, like I want to make clear to folks who are listening and watching, like, I don't care which Star Wars is your favorite. Like, if you are a fan of The Phantom Menace, I don't agree that it's the best Star Wars movie, but I love the fact that you love Star Wars as much as I do. That should be what matters.
True.
That's what World Gone Geek is all about, because we're Utah and I ourselves are many different fandoms. Aaliyah, as I mentioned earlier, hasn't even seen Star Wars. She saw A New Hope literally like a few months ago for the first time.
If that.
So yeah, but she loves anime and things like that. Like, we all have different
ways to
things
be a geek.
we geek out about. Yeah, and that's what we're all about here. But yeah, it's easy to make enemies by saying you like The Last Jedi. People are so hung up on that, and I just don't get it, because there's so much. Empire, again, is my favorite. I mean, hands down. But again, and Alan,
it's in everybody's top 3. There's nobody that has a top 3.
Yeah, right.
Empire. Like,
Utah and I are a little bit older than you. All right. No, we're a lot older. I saw Star Wars in theater.
I saw Star Wars in the theater. Yeah.
Yeah. When it first came out, New Hope. So 1977, I was 4 years old and I saw it in the theater. So
respect to the OGs.
Yeah.
I was 35. I'm just kidding.
So like you, I knew Utah looks really good for his age. I mean that in the course of the joke and in truth too. He does.
Oh, thank you.
But because he's so much older than me, and that's
by
matters.
a lot, by almost a couple of years.
Anyway,
so The Rise of Skywalker, I think this is what I'll say. I think there were a lot of people that loved The Last Jedi that were disappointed or let down by The Rise of Skywalker. One of the things that I didn't want to do, because I spent a long time in Facebook fan groups where, and it continues to now, where hating The Last Jedi was constant, unending, and there were certain people that basically made it their personality.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
And that was exhausting.
Yes.
And so there are things about The Rise of Skywalker that I really didn't like, but it benefits 0 people for me to just complain about it.
Yeah.
Right.
It does nothing positive for the franchise. It does nothing positive for the fandom. If there's somebody that The Rise of Skywalker, for whatever their reasons were, is their favorite Star Wars movie, my crapping on it diminishes that joy. Like, all it does is tarnish their joy, especially if otherwise they respect me.
Right.
And so that's something that I have not spent a lot of time doing. I've accidentally grown a very large following on TikTok. By saying that my lightsaber was better than a stick, and then a handful of other things have sort of popped off here and there, and I've accumulated other people.
I don't know if you saw my comment. I actually commented that was what hooked me. I'm like, better than a stick has got to be the best tagline for a lightsaber, or if not that, better than a gift.
Better than a
tube.
wrapping paper tube.
Right.
Right? Yeah, it's the only other thing.
It's not
either
snappy.
one of those. It's not.
Too many words.
And so one of the things I'm hoping, because I've been really enjoying the High Republic stuff that's come out so far.
Yeah.
I have not read remotely close to all of it, because there's a lot that has come out, and it's come out fairly quickly, and it's all very good, which has also been really encouraging. But I'm really enjoying it, and I'm excited at the prospect of new Star Wars stories that don't have baggage, because I think some of the polarization within the fandom, some of it is because of people who felt really, really connected to previous trilogies that then didn't connect in the same way to the new ones. And so it created this dynamic of conflict between those fans. And I'm hoping that by getting farther away from that sort of the timeline that we've spent a lot of time on, that fans are going to be able to just be excited about talking about Star Wars again.
Yeah.
Well, I'll never understand the sentiment that, oh, they ruined my childhood. I mean, no, I just told you, I went to see it at I was 5 years old, sitting in a movie theater with my dad, 1977. That was my childhood.
The seat's too tall.
Nothing nothing has happened in the last decade that can take that away from me. That was my childhood.
Jeff,
Are you kidding me?
You're mistaken. When I saw The Rise of Skywalker, that totally changed and erased that childhood moment for me.
Totally
ruined it.
Such an exaggeration.
It was raining inside the theater now. Yeah. And I was not eating popcorn. I was eating cockroaches. And my father kept on berating me about how this is a stupid movie. Why did you make me take you to it?
Right. It totally changed everything.
Thanks, J.J. Abrams. Thanks a lot.
All you have to do is just protect, the original trilogy is it for you. That's fine. If that's all you like, then that's okay. Your Star Wars, and your childhood is intact.
You can watch it more easily.
Yeah, I know, it's crazy. I mean, I understand. I do understand.
There's still special editions.
Right?
Boo.
I do understand disappointment. There's a lot of things that I had hoped would happen. There's a lot of things that I wish would have happened. And don't get me started on Rise of Skywalker. There's so much that I think could have been better and fixed in that. Not just from a Star Wars perspective, but just to be a better movie, right?
Yeah.
And I think it's okay to have those things. And it's good discussion. We can have those discussions. We can review those, but there's got to be a point where you stop and say, all right, we're done. Like, we get it. This is what I didn't like about it. And now what's next? What do we got now? Oh, Mandalorian. More Mandalorians coming. Oh, the Ballad of Boba Fett.
The Ballad of Boba Fett.
Ballad of Boba Fett.
Which we're calling
renaming accepted.
Yeah. This type of stuff, that's what I'm here for. And so I think that makes a good transition, because this is where I wanted to start this point in the show, to start talking about some of where Star Wars is now, the current kind of state of that.
Let me circle back.
Please do.
Just for a second.
Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt you.
No.
So the other reason that The Last Jedi is my favorite Star Wars movie, there was something really cool that they did with the storytelling and the fight choreography that Star Wars hasn't done a lot of, but it was so cool. So when you look at fight choreography for a movie, it doesn't matter if it's Star Wars or something else. It's useful to look at the choreography as a 3-act story.
Oh, yeah.
And so you've got an act 1, an act 2, and then an act 3 that's sort of the concluding thing.
Right.
Okay. And so Force Awakens, the fight between Rey and Kylo is a 3-act story. Act 1, Kylo is the villain in a slasher movie and he's playing with his food. Act 2, Rey has tapped into the Force and she's able to lash back and she wins, sort of that second round of the fight. And then the third act doesn't get to happen because the planet splits.
Because it's split. Yeah.
But The Last Jedi, and this was the story of The Last Jedi, is Act 1 of the fight, they're fighting separately. Act 2 of the fight, throughout the middle, they're fighting together. And the peak, the apex of that is that moment where they're sort of back to back, and it's like their bodies make the shape of a yin yang, and there've been all these yin yang images in the movie up to that point as well. Right. And so then there's this moment that is the absolute pinnacle of their cooperation, that also is the moment that Reylos point to, and it's like, that is full contact flirting. That isn't just fight. That is right. So there's this moment of them being completely synergized in the fight, and then they gradually rotate away from each other again. And so it's this, the middle act of that movie is the tease of, this is how good it could be. This is how good they could be if they could be together. Right. This is how good this could work. And then they can't. There's some problems with the choreography in that scene too, though. Some scenes, one of the guys gets knocked away by nothing a few times. But that's those are pick a Star Wars fight scene.
Exactly. That was my point.
Any fight.
People will go and point at those, is what I'm saying. And yes, there are problems.
Has one.
Yeah, there's tons of that kind of stuff.
The Attack of the Clones, the fight with Dooku, there's a force kick in that one. There's
just lots of weird,
And anytime you have big set piece fight scenes, there are so many things that you are having to do as a fight team that if the camera angle is off by 5 degrees,
it's going to look bad.
It is what it is. And sometimes you just gotta go. and
the entirety of the Phantom Menace fight scene is Horse perspective, more or less, and that's just like that. You can either accept that like fight choreography is choreography and you're using violence to tell a story,
sure,
or like if you want fights to be like real fights, they have to be too close together and they're over too fast.
Right.
And so if you're not a martial artist that has seen a lot of fighting and done a lot of fighting, it's really hard to follow. So it makes it really boring. Just that that's the nature of stage combat. So like you have to have like big arcing swings and things that are easy to trace so that the people that aren't martial artists can see what's going on.
Sure.
Like if you don't.
Well, that's why Star Wars is great, because you've got lighted blades and they're different colors.
Yeah.
It looks so freaking cool.
And it's amazing.
I stepped on a question. I'm sorry. I can be focused. I promise.
No, it's all good. No, that was great. And that kind of leads us into it. Like I said, the current state of Star Wars is, as you had pointed out, is kind of like giving us a little bit of a fresh start in the High Republic. I have the first book of that and I've not read it yet, but I have it. I bought it when it first came out and I've just got too many other, I got a stack like this next to my,
don't we all?
I got to get through them. And I buy every Stephen King book when it first comes out, and I've got that stacked up. He's got another one coming out. Of course, he writes them too fast. It's his fault. I blame him. But anyway,
I blame him for spoiling Mayor of Easton.
Why can't he be like George R. R. Martin?
Right. Can't he just take decades?
But yeah, there's a lot of really cool stuff going on. Obviously, the Mandalorian and Boba Fett. Currently, they've got the Bad Batch, but I think at the pinnacle of all of that is the fact that Dave Filoni has just been named the guy in charge of Star Wars. He's kind of like he was already in charge of the story group, and so like this, like the title was more, in my opinion, anyway, was more formality than. Right.
Like he was, so it's basically it's the announcement that he got a pay bump.
Sure.
Right.
Like,
right.
Is really what that comes down to. Cause he was already performing the role of, functionally the stories are. Mm-hmm. And so that, and cause we knew the story group existed even before any of the shows came out. Like we knew the story group has existed. They've been like the people have been on Twitter.
Yeah. Pablo Hidalgo is
exactly. And Pablo was going to be the first person that I brought up because they're also generally really available to fans and other stuff like that. So we knew the story group existed. The fact that Filoni is being recognized for being really talented is like,
well, he was kind of
they poached him from Avatar for a reason.
Yeah,
that's fair.
Well, when the Clone Wars came out, like when he and George Lucas kind of really hit it off, and he really kind of the successor to George Lucas, if you think of it in a way. I wish that he had been more involved in the trilogies, obviously, and had more to do that.
But we know he was in the story group, and we know that. I recognize that there was the interview recently, and I actually posted a TikTok about this today, where they've said that there wasn't a detailed outline for the stories. Mm-hmm. We know that's not true. There's a lot of data points that tell us that's not true, but we also know that the Rise of Skywalker had to change dramatically based on the plan because Carrie Fisher died.
Sure.
Yeah, that put a crimp on
Like and we know from the leaked doctoral script and all this stuff. So like we know the story group was involved, but I have a feeling moving forward, given Filoni's fan cred, so to speak, like his street cred, that he will be a really significant part of some of the press stuff, like moving forward. Because every conversation that I've had with people about The Mandalorian, it feels like about a third of the time, somebody will then be like, man, if Filoni had been involved in the movies or whatever. But Filoni's done multiple interviews where he's talking about being on set in The Last Jedi all the time. And Rian Johnson, like, putting him with the camera and being like, no, so look, and da-da-da, and talking about framing shots for live action and different things like that. Like we know he was
there.
He was connected with this stuff, and we know it. And so that's one of those narratives that we know is a false narrative that has just persisted because Mandela effect.
Yeah, right.
Well, I think the pivot that takes place in Rise of Skywalker for me is the biggest problem with the whole thing. I mean, just the fact that Palpatine even showed up kind of bothers me. But let's talk about Filoni for a second. Just in the shows that he has done. I love what he's doing with Mandalorian. I really enjoyed not all of Clone Wars, but I enjoyed most of it, enough of it to be a fan, right, of the Clone Wars and not say, not throw the baby out with the bathwater kind of
Rebels
situation.
Fantastic.
Rebels.
I enjoyed Rebels, but the one thing and now the Bad Batch is on, and I'm starting to, the only thing, my only complaint, and this is just, I'm going to say the complaint and then I'm be done with it and be a fan, because that's what I do.
That's fine.
But my one thing is I need him to start moving away from this formula that he has. And it's the connections. Like people are calling the Bad Batch the Dad Batch, right? Because it is basically the Mandalorian with 5 guys instead of 1. She's Omega is baby, or is Grogu. It's
but you can talk.
Which is Ahsoka in the beginning with Anakin. Like they all had this thing where and in everyone and go back and watch the Bad Batch right now. In everyone, stay here while we do this. They don't stay there. Yeah. They get in danger. They save them. Happy ending. Next episode. Repeat, rinse. That's that's my one complaint. I'm still enjoying it. But it's valid. Like, come on, we're like, something new has to happen. And then the other thing is he's got to constantly self-reference something else that he did.
The connections are starting to
get almost too much. It's almost like, okay, we get it. Like, but is the galaxy bigger than some of
I've got this new show about this Bad Batch. Hey, Fennec Shand, let's bring you in. Just and Trace and
Caleb,
Caleb. Let's retcon your
and whoever showed up at the end of the last episode, is somebody that we already know.
Right.
But
sure.
I'm again, these are small little things that I'm tired of seeing it over and over again. But at the same time, I'm going to be excited to see whoever this is and be like, yay, they're here. But
is it Maul? Is it Darth Maul?
No. I think it's
Rex.
I think it's going to be a good guy.
Rex?
Yeah, that's my guess. Because I mean, it's whoever it is, they're working for the Rebels, right? Because they, or at least that's what they said they were working for the Rebels.
The two best guesses, in my opinion, are Rex and Bale, because we know it's probably going to be a good guy, somebody that is important in the Rebels TV show or the Rebellion in general. And we know from the trailer that Rex is going to show up at some point.
Sure,
that's fair. Yes, that's right.
And so, like that, those are the data points that we have that make it reasonable that those are one of the two guesses. Now, of course, it could, they could triple reverse us and it'd be something else.
It's going to be Paul Bettany.
I was really hoping for a. I do too. I was really hoping for a Star Wars A-Team kind of show, basically, where they just hop around the galaxy, helping the downtrodden and bringing justice, and just, what I mean? And then they would all take on like those roles.
And their ship's like a crappy van.
That's just me. I grew up with the A-Team and I want to see it,
Hunter says, when the plan comes together.
Exactly.
That, right?
Record doesn't want to fly in helicopters or something,
Right. They're going to drug him every time.
Every time he gets
time.
So what am I looking for? All right. So the Lone Wolf and Cub analogs with Mandalorian are obvious and plentiful. So I'm not going to rehash that conversation, but so like it fits that mold. The Bad Batch, my guess or assumption or whatever is that it is going to be a very slow march to the Bad Batch all getting flipped, like one at a time,
right?
Like,
because of the inhibitor chip.
And so I really think that that's going to be the end game. The same way that the same way that Rogue One, it's in order to progress the plot, you encounter a problem where you have to sacrifice the life of one of your characters.
Right.
Like that's the plot of Rogue One. It's like it gets to a certain point and it's like, all right, to overcome this, somebody's got to die. To overcome this, somebody else has got to die. Right. And so I really think the Bad Batch, one of the things that's going to happen as this progresses is that there's just going to be this attrition. And who knows who Omega is ultimately going to be.
Right. Mm-hmm. She's got some...
Because we know Omega's force sensitive and so forth. So there's a very different story there from like the parent-child relationship being rehashed.
Mm-hmm.
I get.
It's also let's put the kid in danger in order to give the heroes.
Well, that was like The Walking Dead for like 3 years.
Well, yeah, Carl, stay in the house, Carl, right? That kind of thing. But yeah, and it's not even a Star Wars, not even a Filoni thing. It's
just a trope in general.
Jurassic Park, the first Jurassic Park did it. Second Jurassic Park did it. Third Jurassic Park did it. Stop bringing kids to this island.
Jurassic World did it. Jurassic World 2 did it.
They all do it. I get it. It's a trope that happens, but I'm like, it's also in all of these, and I'm just like, okay, come on, just
And it's also something that we need to remember as adult fans is like these different properties are made to either appeal to different people or include different people or whatever. And so Bad Batch guarantee like fans under the age of X, let's say 14, they all have a favorite Bad Batch member.
Mm.
And a portion of them are going to pretend to be the Bad Batch member, but it's also a path of easier, like less resistance to pretend to be Omega.
Mm.
And that's something that like Clone Wars is targeted like 8 to 14. Like that's the age range for Clone Wars. And Rebels was right in the same zone, maybe a little bit younger. But because the way the TV ratings are, you've got TV Y7 and TV PG, which is 13.
Yeah.
And so like the things that are going to hit that zone, that's where Star Wars likes to put their animated stuff is in that, like right in that zone. And so then one of the things that happens is you give people that are that age group, you give them a character that they can see themselves in.
Mm-hmm.
And that helps them be connected to the story. Because for us, it's a lot easier for us to look at Hunter or Wrecker or Tech or whatever, because we've got the four humors archetypes.
Right.
So it's like we've got the Ninja Turtles plus Crosshair.
Plus Crosshair, who's, indisposed at the moment.
Kind of wrath.
Kind of.
But because Wrecker's Mikey.
Right.
Tech is Donnie.
Yep.
Yeah.
But so we got that. And so then we can see them and we have one that is like, oh, I like this one more or whatever. Now, I'm sure for most of us, it's Hunter because it's like, he's the most dad. He's the one that's got this responsibility. And so like, by the time you're a middle-aged adult man, you've got sort of whatever your life problems are and other things. And so then you're going to like Hunter is going to be the one that you're just like, you're my guy. You're my boy, Blue. Like, it's going to be more like that because he's the one that has a level of responsibility for the entire group that none of the other individuals in the group have.
Mm-hmm.
Echo and Tech have tasks that they do that are important, that require their expertise, but they're not responsible for everybody else. They're responsible for doing their part of the job.
Mm-hmm.
Hunter's responsible for doing his job.
And everybody else.
And making sure everybody else is doing what they need to do or getting what they need to have and stuff like that. So like as a dad, we connect with Hunter. I don't know if you guys are dads. As a dad, I connect with Hunter.
No, yeah.
And Hunter then is also the one that has the character that the kids then emulate. Like my daughter isn't quite at want to watch Star Wars on TV age. We're still just a little bit too young for that. So at some point we're going to cross that threshold and we're going to watch that show and she's going to want to be Omega for Halloween. And I'll be like, I guess I'll be Hunter.
Oh, yeah, well. I guess. Talk me into it.
Oh, man.
I'm going to be so upset about this.
I hate doing this.
Well, obviously we got some more Star Wars coming out later this year.
I'm so excited about Acolyte.
maybe we can have you back when some of that stuff comes out. We can talk a little bit about that. We're coming up on time. I want to give you a chance to kind of tell everybody where they can find your lightsabers, sales pitch type stuff, what else you offer, because I know you offer classes, not just live and in person where you are located down there, right? But you also offer them online. So go ahead and tell folks how they can do that.
I'm going to keep this plug super short, and then because I wanted to ask you guys a question.
Okay.
So you can go to leveluplightsaber.com, and that is the shop and the training site, and it will get you everything you need. Leveluplightsaber.com. If you're watching on Facebook, it's very, very easy to find the Level Up Facebook group. If you're watching on YouTube or whatever, we don't have a YouTube channel at the moment because we are me.
Sure.
There's only so many hours in the day.
Right.
We have 3 different handle styles available online. Everything is ready and approved for my training and the curriculum and stuff like that. I'm based out of Louisville, Kentucky. We have classes here in Louisville, but all of the material is online, so you can get a training buddy and do this stuff in a backyard or a garage, or you could do it in a living room. Just be careful of your lamps and ceiling fans.
Or children.
I've seen a lot of videos on TikToks of people with lightsabers taking out ceiling fans, and ceiling fans are expensive.
Well, I think the bane of the Jedi. One of the cool things that I like about your lightsabers also is that it's not one where you're like, oh, I got to pick my color and buy that lightsaber. You can literally change the color. Like how many different color combinations?
And it's literally infinite. So in there,
you got the LED.
The little LED diode is a red, a green, and a blue.
Nice.
So everything that a red, green, and blue light can replicate, these can do.
Nice.
So basically everything except for black, gray, and brown.
Mm-hmm.
And then there are 9 sound FOTs installed. You can't install your own, not at this price point. If you find somebody that sells a lightsaber at my price that you can install your own sound fonts, tell me, because I can't get them wholesale that cheap. So,
but they're 9 sets, you said.
Yeah, and they're
cool.
all based on characters from the movies and other things. So it gives you the opportunity to like have a sound that is a little bit darker, have a sound that's a little bit lighter. There's one that emulates the dark saber really well, which is probably my least favorite one. Like it seems like that would be really cool until
you hear it.
That you get it from the episode of Mandalorian. It's just like, oh man, that is really harsh.
Yeah.
And in a little action sequence, it's fine. But when you're the one swinging it around, it's just like, why am I doing this to myself?
It's that blade comes with some responsibility and some sacrifice if you want to use it.
Yep. That's right.
It's the price.
That's
you got to deal with it. They're always wearing earplugs, probably.
They put the sounds in post.
Yeah. No, I mean in the actual blade.
In Phantom Menace, George Lucas had to stop filming, and he'd say, "Guys, we're gonna put the sounds in post."
Yeah,
right, because they kept on making the noise. Yeah, Ewan McGregor kept on saying, "I just couldn't help it." Yeah,
so funny.
But I mean, any of us would do the same. So,
oh yeah, as soon as you put one in my hand, I would start.
Nobody self-control is that good,
right?
So this is I'm not judging you as people. I am a little bit. So people ask questions to like kind of learn about other people, and people ask about signs and Myers-Briggs types and things like that. I have found that this one's really useful. The problem is you have to answer at the same time so that your answer isn't influenced by the other person's answer.
Oh, okay.
Right. And so you're going to go on 3. And so I'm going to ask you the question, then go 1, 2, 3. Okay. Go to Mario Kart driver. 1.
Wait, hold on. What was a Mario Kart driver? I'm so bad. This is funny. This is an inside joke, kind of, but Utah knows how terrible I am at driving in video games. Mario Kart is not my
Mario
game.
Mario Kart is not like real driving at all.
I know, but I'm terrible at any kind of
any driving in any video game. Anytime
we're so bad at Mario
Anytime
Kart.
We're playing a video game and there's a vehicle, I jump in first because there's no way.
So
but anyway,
what I'm hearing is we need to do something on Twitch at some point. And now technically this involves the consumption of beverages that you need to be over the age of 21. But so you have a can of a beverage that you need to be over the age of 21 to purchase. However, if we were living in Russia, it would be classified as a soft drink.
Correct.
Because it's less than 10% by volume.
Right.
And you need to finish your beverage before you finish the race. But you can't be in motion as you consume the beverage because that would be irresponsible.
Right. Yeah, that's fair.
I'm trying to remember who all the drivers are. I mean,
I already know mine. I mean,
I know which one I probably just.
So just go with your gut.
Yep. I mean, it's
ready?
One of my favorite characters.
1, 2, 3.
Yoshi.
Donkey Kong.
Who hurt you?
Which one? Which one of us?
It didn't matter. That's the joke.
I gotcha. Yeah, Donkey Kong's always been one of my favorite video game characters. So
I played the crap out of Donkey Kong Country. Like that game was.
Yeah,
it was pretty awesome.
That game was great.
Yeah.
So I no beef with Donkey Kong, and no beef with anybody's choice. But that's something, especially as the roster of drivers has gotten really big.
Yeah,
that's ultimately a really interesting thing to find out about somebody, because you could have like 7-8 people, and nobody will pick the same one.
Yeah,
and so you can have a whole class full of people and ask that question, and then go 3, 2, 1, and then everyone will say something different, and it's really cool. That to me is fun when there's not a universal answer, when it's that that diverse or that dispersed.
And you said Yoshi, Utah.
I said Yoshi, and
I've played Yoshi too, I think.
And the simplest reason is because Yoshi's name starts with the same letter as my name.
So. Right.
Solid reason.
Awesome. Well,
thank you for having me on, guys.
Before we go, I want to also point out that we did get a comment during the show, early on in the show, but we were so
early
engaged 90s. Someone said, hello, Master Allen. So I don't know if you know that person, but hello
I do.
To them.
He just got a saber a little while ago. He just ordered it for me.
Very cool. Well, he was watching. I don't know if he's still watching, but he was watching, or she.
Fingers crossed. Yeah.
They, them, whoever it was. I don't know. But thank you for watching. That was awesome. And I wasn't ignoring you. We were just engaged, and I didn't want to interrupt and say, this person said hello.
Yeah, it happens.
But thank you so much for being on the show. Like I said, we'd love to maybe have you come back in our next season whenever we kind of go down the road of Star Wars again.
I will happily talk about other things other than Star Wars too. Like, this is not my own fandom.
Sure.
Well, I can complain about the Green Lantern movie. I can complain about the Iron Fist TV show. I'm hyped for Shang-Chi.
I can't even tell you how excited I am for Shang-Chi.
Yeah, it's going to be so pretty awesome.
I still have
martial arts action looks really good. Good Asian representation. My grandmother's from Okinawa. This is something that nobody assumes from looking at me. And so, like when big budget movies have Asian leads, it's something that sort of like it gets a little buzz in our family, for lack of a better word, because it's like my mom's entire life, the Asian leads in movies have been relegated to the villains or the computer expert or the martial artist.
They've been very, very much pigeonholed into the typical roles that people have expected Asians to be in for so long. Mm-hmm. And to see that expand in my lifetime, let alone my children's lifetime, is
the fact that my daughter has been on a Raya, The Last Dragon kick recently.
Which just showed up on Disney Plus for free.
That's what I was going to say. It's no longer Premier Access, right?
So now we're going to watch it.
I'm going to finally see it.
So good. The choreography, the fight choreography they did is
so they actually motion capped a lot of the choreography. And Lauren Mary Kim, who is a great stunt woman, she was one of the people that they motion capped, and it looks amazing. I'm looking forward to it. It's gonna be.
It's so worth it. It's so worth it.
Awesome.
I will come on to talk to you guys about that after you see it.
Very cool.
Love that.
Well, another time we'll definitely figure that out. Thank you again so much for coming. Thanks for sharing your love of lightsabers and turning them into real life fighting. I think I might not have the energy to do that anymore these days. We have to see, or I might hurt something because just,
you know, have any ceiling fans?
It doesn't take much these days, but I do so well. I do appreciate you sharing that with us. This is our penultimate episode of season 1. So if you're watching, we've got one more episode coming June 20th. I'm working on a really fun group of guests who will hopefully come and really be fun and entertaining to take us out on a high note. We'll be back for San Diego Comic-Con in July, and then our season 2 will officially kick off at the end of August. But we thank you guys for supporting us throughout this first year and being a part of as we've grown this podcast through. I almost played the wrong sound music at the end here.
Still have some tech issues that you know.
Every episode there's tech issues. We're learning. But I'm going to take what we've learned. We're going to apply that into season 2. It's going to be great. But thanks to all of you who've watched or listened along the way. We appreciate it. Make sure you like and subscribe and do all those fun things. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, all of the things. And we'll see you guys next time. Thanks, guys.
The Podcast is Real is a World Gone Geek production.